All right, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Biblical Hebrews of the Bible, which is sponsored by Facebook Live. I'm your sister, Georgia. Today's date is August the 30th, 2020. Once again, we get back into the Father's Word. Title of today's lesson is Thy Maker is Called Ishi. That's the topic we're going to talk about today. And we're going to do many parts to this. I'm not going to keep the lessons, try not to keep the lessons too long. But right now we're just going over the overview of what all these lessons are going to bring knowledge on. This particular lesson, speaking of the Maker, is called Ishi, Thy Maker. The overview of this lesson is going to tell us the spiritual, I better say it this way, the spiritual nature of God's relationship to his people, God's purpose relationships between his sons and his daughters on this earth, and a reflection of everything not seen by the human eye, by that which is seen with the human eyes. Which is to say, another way of saying this is simple. The fulfillment of marriage, as above, so below. I've done a lesson already, and if you haven't had the opportunity to watch that lesson, you can catch it on Facebook Live, the Biblical Hebrews of the Bible group, and it's very informative. I'm going to skim over some of that within this lesson so that I can show you those highlighted points I want to show you. We're going to find out God's purpose, his purposed relationship between his sons and his daughters right here on this earth, the spiritual nature of God's relationship to his people. That's a big one. Not too many people understand who his people are, but within the scriptures, we're going to allow the scriptures to speak, so that you can see there's no guessing game. We don't have to play a guessing game because our Father tells us everything, and all his word is spiritual. Shalom. Hi, Brother Jerome. His whole word is spiritual. We have to understand that just as he did it in the spiritual realm, which you can't see, it was done right here on this earth in the physical world that you do see. So this will bring a lot of truth to the argument of who God's people are. It's going to bring a lot of truth of marriages and the way it's supposed to be done by the Father, spiritual marriages. Because we can see within his word, he had a spiritual marriage, a spiritual covenant with his spiritual people on this earth. So these are some things that we're going to look at. Remember, the Father's word does say, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, where? On earth, just like in heaven. So we have to take a look at this, family. I want to bring you guys quickly and go over. And I think this is very interesting. I have it in 3 different formats. It's 1 Corinthians 11, verses 11 through 12. And I have it read, which I'm going to read to you rather, in the King James Version, the Christian Standard Bible, and the Amplified, because the way it's said in each one should give you some understanding when we're talking about spiritual things, especially the Father's relationship with his people, and the Father, his children, how they are supposed to perform on this earth, and how he got them together. Everything is drawn in by the Spirit. It's all an inside job. So let's look at 1 Corinthians 11. I'll read in the KJV. This is verses 11 through 12. It reads, nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man in the Lord. For as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of God. Okay, we read that, and people have read over that, but we're going to take a look at that. I'm going to give it to you another way. Go to the Christian Standard Bible. Here's how it reads. In the Lord, however, woman is not independent of man, and man is not independent of woman. For just as woman came from man, excuse me, so man comes through woman, and all things come from God. One more way I'm going to read it to you, and this is what we're going to be breaking down, because you have to understand we're reading a logos, a physical word, but it also has a spiritual understanding. I guess I should have had me something to drink a little bit early. Let me get something to drink. Let me leave it like that. Hold on one second, family. My throat wants to get really irritated right now. When you go to the Amplified for 1 Corinthians 11, verses 11 through 12, here's how it reads. Nevertheless, woman is not independent of man, nor is man independent of woman. For as the woman originates from the man, so also man is born through the woman. And all things, whether male or female, originates from God as their creator. They all have good words in them, and it's going to break down the bulk of what we're getting ready to talk about today. Speaking of, thy maker is called Ishi. Now, I want to also take you guys to Isaiah 46 verse 10. He tells us, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. If he's declaring the end, what we have right now, and if you understand, the end was right before the white throne judgment. So he was declaring this end from Genesis, from the beginning. From ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So when we look at these scriptures today, many people are looking in, they're leaning on their own understanding. They're looking at these words, just purely logos. And they don't understand the whole world has the logos. The whole world has the logos. So much of what we're going to talk about today is going to be conflicting with what people are learning today. Because people have said that they were there to teach you something. They weren't there to teach you. No, if the Spirit is not involved, you cannot get this true understanding. And that's why the Father told us, how can the people hear without a preacher? But yet, how can that preacher preach unless being sent? He told us that many false prophets and wolves in sheep clothing have gone out into the world, and they are constantly deceiving the Father's people. So we got to come into his word, which is a spiritual word, in truth, the way he wanted us to. So I'm going to be breaking this down. Like I said, this is just the overview. So today, when we get ready to start this in about 15 more minutes, I'm going to take another little break, get my throat right. This lesson will reveal the spiritual nature of God's relationship to his people, God's purposed relationships between his sons and his daughters on this earth, and a reflection of everything not seen by that which is seen, which is to say, the fulfillment of marriage, as above, so below. This is a covenantal marriage. You think the people on this earth just got that from nowhere? They knew by reading the Bible it's in there. And they knew, the people who lied to you, knew that that covenantal marriage is a thing that they don't want to have. They don't want us to get. They want to promote it. But why are people getting divorces left and right? People, wives and husbands killing each other. They go through religion and they tell you, oh, you can't divorce. They go tell you we all the same. They tell you, hey, pray for them. They'll get better. Well, we can clearly read in the Father's word, a leopard cannot change his spots. What is he talking about? Family, we are looking at things after the white throne judgment. But many don't realize what they're looking at. That's why the world was able to take our book, our history book, which is a spiritual history book, and fumble it. Teach you folly. They don't have the spirit to teach you. Many who look like us, but really they're wolves in sheep clothing, have been teaching you folly concerning this spiritual relationship with the Father and his people. Family, they're not getting Genesis chapter 1 and 2 right, all the way to the flood. They're not getting that right. They're talking about things that our Father never was speaking about. Things, oh, well, yeah, you see that UFO, that's them aliens. Oh, fallen angels. All these movies they're bringing out. Ooh, giants. We got to come back to the truth, the foundation of the Spirit to get this. So I'm going to leave it right there, family, in about, give me about 15 minutes. I'm going to come back to you. We're getting ready to hit it hard. So I pray that everyone's listening, because a lot of people are having challenges with trying to explain who the people are trying to, they're arguing this fact. We don't have to argue the fact, because we're going to read it all today. So if you need to know who the Father's people truly are, join us today. If you want to understand about this spiritual marriage, join us today, because just like in the heavens, it had to be here on this earth. Everything is back and forth between his people and our Father. Hey, shalom. 15 minutes.